We can move on now to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is roll call, and I'll ask our clerk, Jessie Clark, to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Lamstad, are you present?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Braybrook?
Present.
And Councillor Cadigan?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CAO Treasurer. Present. Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner.
Present.
Bianca Dragicevic, Deputy Clerk.
Present.
Derek Bertram, Planning Technician.
Present.
Matt Winchess, Supervisor of Waste Public Works Coordinator.
Present.
Chastity Robertson, Deputy Treasurer.
Present.
And Jessie Clark, Director of Corporate Services Clerk, is present.
Okay, thank you very much for the roll call. We can move on to item 1.3 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges, we respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes in Peterborough County are located in the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nation. Trent Lake respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they may continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Thank you. Now we can move on to item 1.4 of our agenda, which is employee service recognition. We have a few to announce today, and it's with great pleasure to do so. As we have 5 years of service, we have Matt Wesley, which is in our planning or building department. We have Matt Widgets, which is in the building today. He fit in the door and out with, sometimes he gets excited and his head gets a bit big, but that's awesome. Thank you, Matt. When we move on to 15 years of service, and we have Daryl Shears, which is, he's not here today, but thank you very much, Daryl, for 15 years of service for the municipality of Trent Lakes. Now we can move on to 20 years of service. And we have Steve Brockbank. I believe, Steve, you're online. Thank you very much for the 20 years. It was a while since we did a recruit training together. I think that's not yesterday. Thank you. We can move on to Corey Campbell, which is 20 years of service. Thank you very much, Corey, for all your efforts in the municipality of Trent Lakes. And we can move on to one of the ones that are more near my heart is Donna Taggart, our CAO Treasurer, 20 years of service. Thank you very much, Donna. You've done great things in Trent Lakes, and we do appreciate that. Thank you. Now, we can move on to item 2 of our agenda. I think we should have a round of applause for all the employees. Thank you, everyone, for your years of service. One or all. We can move on now to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. It is circulated. I would entertain a motion for same. Councillor Braybrook for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any conversation about the agenda is circulated. Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 3 of our agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. If any member of council has a pecuniary interest on the item on the agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything on the item you have a pecuniary interest in. One breath. I'm seeing no hands. We can move on. Okay, we can go to item 4 of our agenda, which is adoption of minutes. Item 4.1 is a regular council meeting of December 2nd, and item 4.2 is the statutory public meeting from December 2nd. Councillor Braybrook, go ahead.
Motion to adopt both.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any conversation about those minutes? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on to item 5 of our agenda, which is committees and boards. Item 5.1 is the Committee of Adjustment and Appeals Committee of October the 7th. Would anyone like to speak to that item or prepared to make a motion? Councillor Franzen, motion. Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Braybrook for a seconder. Any conversation about the minutes? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on now to item 5.2 of our agenda, which is liaison reports for council boards and committees. Does anyone have a report? I'm seeing none. So we can move on to item 6 of our agenda. And item 6 is a statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. I need a motion to suspend our regular meeting and go into that public meeting. Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. I'll try to stick to the right item this time. Derek Bertram, our planning technician, would you like to please do your preamble?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamstead and members of council. This is a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw, B 2014-070. The notice of public meeting for today's application containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within a 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to this meeting, and a sign was posted on the subject land in accordance with the Planning Act. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decision from today's public meeting must either inform myself or the clerk, and a notice of passing will be mailed out to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person does not send in a written comment prior to the passing of a bylaw or make an oral submission at the public meeting, that person may not be entitled to appeal the decision.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. You can proceed to introduce the file.
Excellent. Thank you through you, Mayor Lambshead and members council. On today's agenda, we have zoning bylaw amendment 2523 submitted by property owner Carly Kenny for 2116 County Road 36. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to amend an existing special exception zone granted under bylaw B 2017-060. The special exception zone, Rural 70, amended the home industry definition to permit a motor vehicle auto repair shop on the subject lands in 2017. The applicant is proposing to include the sale of not more than 4 motor vehicles at any given time as part of the special exception zone. There's a planning report on today's agenda, which is in support of the rezoning. Comments from the municipality's deputy chief building official and court the Pine Ridge District School Board were received with no objections to the proposal. And that concludes the summary of the zoning bylaw amendment 2523.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. Is there anyone in the gallery for or against this application? Can you state your name for the record, please?
Hi, I am Carly Kenny, the applicant on the file, and obviously for the application.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on council have any comments or questions regarding this file? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Chair. I support see businesses expanding in our municipality. I would love to see more, so appreciate that. Just a question, why was this not commercial versus rural with an exception?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lambshead. The existing property being rural designation. So in order to go over to a commercial designation, they would have had to do an official plan amendment. And based on the original bylaw back in 2017, it was noted that the home industry could accommodate the operation which has existed on the property since prior to 2015, I believe, when the current owners purchased the property to operate. But to go to commercial would be a significant endeavor, just to go through the official plan amendment when we believe it could be captured under the home industry scope.
Great. Thank you very much. That certainly answers the question.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments or questions? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lamb I'm also in support of this, and I'd like to see more businesses within our community expanding like this. So in support.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay. Any other questions? Is there anyone in the virtual gallery that would like to speak for or against this application? No, very good. Okay. We can move on now to item 7 of our agenda, which is business arising out of the statutory public meeting. So I would entertain a motion to reconvene our regular meeting. Move on. Councillor Franzen for a mover. Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are now back into our regular meeting. And item 7.1, Derek Bertram, our planning technician, would you like to speak to this item, please?
So for you, Mayor Lambshead, members of council, there was a public meeting held for file 2523. Municipal staff are recommending the following: that council received the report from the planning technician and planner for zoning bylaw amendment file 2523, and further that council support zoning bylaw amendment file 2523, and staff have prepared a bylaw which is on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. Anyone prepared to make a motion or have any comments or questions? Councillor
Make a motion and support and support the recommendations of staff.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eric, thank you very much, Penny, for attending. Okay, we can move on to item 8 of our agenda, which is presentations, which we have none. And then we can move on to item 9 of our agenda, which is delegations, and 9.1 is Peter Kutenkoller. Would you like to come to the podium and do a presentation? Or? Appreciate it. Thank you for attending physically.
Good afternoon, members of Trent Lakes Council and Administration. As mentioned in our May and June delegations to Council, we are the last remaining water access only property on Salmon Lake. For the last 14 years, we've been docking our little fishing boat with a 9.9 horsepower motor at the docks of the Mackenzies, our longtime friends at number 1 Fire Route 349. Since they have now built a large lake home in the last 3 years for full-time residency, it is past time for us to find our own parcel of land for dock and parking. Our initial application this past spring for the 66-foot wide parcel of land and municipal land was met with opposition from non-lakefront landowners on Boundary Lane, and we initiated friendly discussions with them. If you recall, after the June council meeting, we all agreed to a compromise, and a portion was to remain public and a portion perhaps for us. If you recall, after that June council meeting, my wife Chris and I met with Steve Burgess, Ryan Tucker, Mike Shada, that was in the back of the room there, and we had amicable and positive discussions. Due to a lack of appropriate surveys of that area, and there was too many metal boundary stakes in the ground to figure out what was what, we paid $4,000 for a civil engineering survey to truly determine where the municipal property area was. We forwarded that entire survey as a whole and reports to Jesse Clark, and you may have a package of that in portfolio. Since the beginning, we've always pursued proper channels with the municipality for a dock and parking. This land purchase application was no different. We've also reached out to all parties who had concerns to hear their perspectives and allay any concerns. My wife and I met with Mike Murchison and Chris Lee at the site this past fall to discuss our planned use and discuss their concerns. Where we reasonably could, we've compromised further. We appreciate the extra effort made by the clerk and the Director of Public Works to tour the site to more deeply understand this application. Today, we are asking Council to approve what's in today's staff report, which we believe embodies the several compromises reached and continues to provide unchanged public access to the lake on the existing dirt road that forms the southern half of the municipal land. We believe this is a reasonable request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Does anyone have any comments or questions for you? See, Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Peter. As you know, the two neighbors that she referenced, Chris and Mike, have sent in a letter, and their concern is that there not be any further development on that particular piece of land, such as a garage or whatever. So I just wondered if you could respond to that, if you wouldn't mind.
We don't really have any plans to put a garage there. We just want, open air parking and a dock. Having said that, we believe that the existing building codes and the guidelines that are the jurisdiction of the municipal building department forms enough of a guideline to what we can and cannot do. Would we maybe put a shed there for, storing life jackets and things like that, and maybe a small snow thrower one day? I don't know yet. We have no plans for a big structure, but we really don't want to see our purchase, if it's granted, have further conditions to that effect that we can't do anything beyond what was written in that staff report. So I think that there's enough framework in the Ontario Building Code of what can be built on that little bowling alley of land. And we ask that it's accepted as is.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further questions? Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks very much for your presentation again, and welcome back. You mentioned in your presentation that you had amicable discussions with the neighbors. Was this concern that our deputy mayor just brought up, was that shared during that meeting, or is this something new that's...
That was something new. When we met back on Sunday, October the 5th, Chris Lee was concerned about us parking a vehicle there, deteriorating his property values. Mike Murchison at the time mentioned that he was concerned about the environmental thing. So that letter that I saw there, that was new to me.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing. Okay, thank you very much, Peter. I would entertain a motion to receive his presentation. Go ahead, Councillor Craver.
Motion to receive.
And do I have a seconder? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much for your delegation.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on now to item 10 of our agenda, which is staff reports, and item 10.1 is Public Works. 10.1.1, Matt Wingens, Supervisor of Waste and Public Works Coordinator. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I am here today to provide for your information an update on the Blue Box program transition. There are no financial or environmental implications as a direct result of this report. Any costs associated with the content herein has already been approved in past meetings. After what feels like an eternity, we will finally reach the end of the transition period, and hopefully you won't have to hear about this anymore for a bit. Come January 1st, 2026, Trent Lakes will be responsible for the separation of non-eligible materials at all of our transfer stations. To meet this requirement, we will be placing extra bins at each transfer station to be designated as non-eligible. And as residents arrive at the transfer station, they'll be asked whether any of their recycling was generated as a result of their business or organization. And if so, we'll be asked to place that material in one of the designated bins. The system will require the cooperation of residents. However, since there's no benefit or penalty to bringing in your commercial recycling, we don't intend there to be any pushback really, and we expect compliance to be relatively high. We've sent out letters to all of the non-eligible sources as identified by MPAC, and we're posting on socials, and our transfer station staff have been updating people by word of mouth. At this time, it's unclear how this change will be received, but we will continue to adapt as we have been over the past years. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, I see that. Itchy fingers trying to get up there.
Keep waiting. Thank you.
All
Thanks very
good,
much.
thank you.
Thanks very much, Matt. Just one quick question. The 2% represents what, about 300?
Yeah, it's through you, Mr. Mayor. It's a very small amount. The thing we don't know is really how much volume it is, right? Because one business could be a whole bin. They could save it up. We have to see where we're at after a couple months and possibly coordinate with some of our local businesses to arrange times and stuff like that. But it is a quite small amount, yes.
And just to follow if I can, I know from our county work that they have done, that many of them already have arrangements, somebody to take care of their Blue Box materials, so it won't be all of them.
That's correct.
You have to accommodate. Okay, yep, thank you.
And any other comments or questions? See, now I just have a comment. This is just for our regular recycling stream. It's not for anything special, like a whole bunch of big rolls of plastic that's been taken off of boats and covered and things like that, because those are all things that are recyclable in another way. So as long as this is.
That's correct. And I do expect there to be a lot of questions, and that's fine. We're ready to answer them. And like you say, there won't be a change for 98% of the residents. It'll just be that small amount who just basically will have a little bit of extra sorting to do, and that's it. So.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. We're eager to get this going in 2026 and see how it turns out. It was a bit of a startle when the province brought this to us 3 years ago now, I guess, when it started. Thank you very much for all your efforts on this. We know you've done a lot of work on this. We do appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. We can move on. Don't need a motion. Okay. Anyone prepared to make a motion? Go ahead, Councillor
Motion to
Cadigan.
receive the presentation.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation about the item? I'm seeing none. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Matt. Now we can move on to 10.1.2 of our agenda. Evan Grieger, our Director of Public Works, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Lamstead. Through you, Mayor, to members of council. Before you today is a report regarding the Mississauga Lake snowplow request. So a couple council meetings ago, there's a delegation requesting that Trent Lakes plow a small section of Mississauga Lake Road. Part of the reasoning was that due to the ice storm, there had been a lot of clearing happen with the trees, natural clearing, I guess you could say. As staff went out and reviewed that, we drove that with my pickup. And as you can see in the pictures attached to the report, that there still are some trees in the area, and as well you can see the narrow width of the road. It's actually probably about as wide as a pickup truck, maybe a little bit wider, but definitely not big enough where you could get a snow plow like a tandem down that road to plow and maintain it. You could possibly be able to get up a pickup plow. However, there isn't really a pickup plow close to that area. It would be a sort of an adjustment of some routes to be able to service that area. So my recommendation is for this year, just to receive this report for information. If council does have an appetite to do a further deeper review of the snow plowing routes, that possibly next year this could be explored as an option, just understanding the whole impact of plowing it. The big thing is I don't want to make adjustments to routes without understanding the whole impact that it would have to the other places and ensure that we don't impact the level of service supply. So if you have any questions,
thank you very much. Anyone have any comments or questions for us? Seeing nothing. Oh, Councilor Graber, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you. Thanks, Evan. In your report, you mentioned in the last paragraph, staff recommend conducting a comprehensive review of all plow routes. Is that necessary, or is that just something you would like to do to get a full picture of?
Thank you, Councilor Braybrook. Through you, Mayor Lamstead. It would be something that if council would be interested, I just wanted to provide, because I feel like when we get these requests, I'm just constantly saying no and hate being like the bad guy all the time. So if it was something the councilor would have an appetite, I would say it's important to look at holistically the whole route map. Sure, maybe it wouldn't impact routes in Galway as much, but it's just looking at holistically that, you know, if we're shifting a truck here, then possibly a tandem can go down and do this sort of, and what the, you know, the domino effect, instead of just making one adjustment and building one guy's route up really big. So I think it would be important when you're looking at snow plowing routes, they're, you know, designed in a certain way for a reason. It's something that's worked previously. So if you're making changes, I think it's really important to look at the big picture to ensure that, you know, you're not shortchanging something else or impacting something else down the line.
Okay, thank you. For your question.
Thanks very much. Just to follow up on Councilor Braber's, do you think there's a need for us to do that kind of comprehensive review, or are you satisfied that what we have in place serves the needs of our community?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Through you, Mayor Lamstead. I believe right now we service. It's just if we're looking at making changes and stuff like that, it's important to really understand. I believe right now, you know, when I look at complaints and I look at the history of, really, we don't think we don't get a whole lot of complaints regarding our snowplow routes. The guys do a pretty good job out there. So I feel in the current state we're a good spot. But if we do want to look at different changes and stuff, that would be the opportunity too. It wouldn't be something where you necessarily need to bring in a consultant. It'd be something that, you know, you could work on internally. But it would just take time to review each route and just to understand those impacts.
That answer your question?
It does. Thank you. I mean, without the need for it, I wouldn't suggest we move ahead with that and create more work.
Busy enough in the wintertime for your staff too. We maybe think about that at another time if we want to add some more things, which I think we might be later. Any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Okay. Would anyone be prepared to make a motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Motion to receive that report.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Evan Grader. Now we can move on to 10.2 of our agenda, which is recreation and facilities. We have none. 10.3 is fire and emergency services. We have none. 10.4 is building and planning, and 10.4.1 is Del Arbor, our planner. Would you like to speak to this item, please? Del.
Yes, and thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamstead. This report is in reference to an application for environmental compliance approval, which was circulated to the municipality by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to permit the disposal of hauled sewage on lands located at 238 County Road 49. The application was submitted by Dwayne Edward Peters, operating as Peters Septic Service, which is located at 214 County Road 49. The comment period for this application closes on January 3rd, 2026. The lands subject to this application were previously authorized to permit disposal of hauled sewage. However, this prior approval had expired on December 1st, 2023. The ERO, which is the Environmental Registry of Ontario, posting identified the total usable area subject to disposal would be approximately 8.17 hectares or 20.2 acres of a property, which in total is 40.3 hectares or 99.54 acres in size. Planning staff identified that the lands proposed for spreading of hauled sewage and the lands on which Peter Septic Service operates are both designated rural in the official plan and zoned rural. And there is nothing in the zoning bylaw that would suggest that these lands have been authorized to dispose of hauled sewage or utilized as a contractor's or tradesman's yard. It is not unreasonable to expect that these lands on which the operator is seeking provincial approvals should be appropriately zoned to permit the use. It is on this basis that planning staff are recommending that council support the environmental compliance approval conditional upon the rezoning of the lands at 214 County Road 49 and a temporary use for the disposal of hauled sewage on lands identified as 238 County Road 49. Ministry staff have been made aware of the plan of subdivision and associated official plan and zoning bylaw amendments located adjacent and south of 214 County Road 49, which have been submitted to the county and the municipality for consideration, and this applications are currently under review. This morning, staff were in receipt of correspondence from Planscape, who is the consultant for the owner, Jeffrey Holmes, who is proposing the plan of subdivision consisting of 55 lots located at 168 County Road 49. The letter has been provided to council for information, and Planscape intends to provide this information directly to the ERO posting, as they are the approval authority considering the application. Therefore, it's being recommended that council receive the report from the planner regarding an application from Dwayne Edward Peters, operating as Peter Septic Service, to amend environmental compliance approval for a waste disposal site located at 238 County Road 49, and further that council support the ECA referenced as 1121 DLR GUZ for lands located at 238 County Road 49, conditional upon the operator, Dwayne Edward Peters, applying for and receiving zoning approval to conduct a sewage contracting business at 214 County Road 49 and to permit the disposal of hauled sewage on a temporary basis for lands located at 238 County Road 49, and further that council directs staff to provide a copy of this report to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And that concludes the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Adele. Anyone on council have any comments or questions? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lamshead. Adele, my understanding is that they can't use this property while there's snow or frozen ground. So I'm wondering what possibility or what the ramifications would be if we defer it till the spring. Does this decision have to be made before January 2nd?
Go ahead, Adele.
Through Mr. Mayor, the ministry is just asking for comments regarding the application, and the deadline for comments, as I mentioned, was in January 2026, the 3rd of January. As indicated in the report, there are some specifications in perhaps to what their license or approval could contain. And as you mentioned, that it can't be spread on when there's snow on the ground and other criteria. So I don't know, we're just a commenting agency. I see no harm in us providing our comments. And it is actually the ministry who is the approval authority. We could put something added to the recommendation should council choose that maybe it be deferred till the spring. But we're just a commenting agency.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Lamstead. Thanks, Adele. I think I'm okay with the recommendation as it's written, in that, we won't support the ECA contingent upon they're applying for and actually receiving a zoning bylaw amendment. I'm not so clear about the comment that says, and to permit the disposal of hauled sewage on a temporary basis. Seems to me they're doing it kind of illegally right now because they don't have the proper zoning. And if that's the case, why would we, I'm assuming this is we, issue a permit that would allow them to do it on a temporary basis? I would think we would not issue that permit, kind of halt and to cease and halt until we have the zoning bylaw amendment approved. But I may be missing something. That would be my take.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, planning staff, in our discussion, we know that there has been sewage spread on that property previously. However, in our zoning bylaw, those uses are not permitted. So if the septic hauler property is zoned to permit that use, it would be contingent or conditional on getting a temporary use for hauled sewage on that property. I don't know how else to explain it, but the temporary use could be for 3 years. Under the Planning Act, you can allow a temporary use for 3 years, and it can be requested to renew that for another 3 years. But the application has to come from the applicant. We may not want to have that use permanently on that property, so that's why we suggested a temporary or conditional approval for the hauled sewage on that property. As you know, we're going through the plan of subdivision and associated expansion of the settlement boundary, and that's all important information that we've given to the ministry, because the ministry has their own guidelines in terms of separation between sensitive land uses and the spreading of sewage. So as I mentioned, we're only a commenting agency. They are the approval, but if we give them all the information that they require, then they can make their informed decision based on the information we've provided.
Yeah, and there has been previously a permit to spread sewage on this property. It's just it's lapsed, so they have to reapply or something. Is that, because I know they used to spread sewage there for.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. They had a previous approval which expired in 2023. So they're requesting that their approval be acknowledged, and a new application had to be made in order to do that.
So for that would trigger me to looking at figure 3 of this report from the landscape, is that northern part of that piece of property would not, if there was a temporary permit to spread sewage there, would not affect the phase 1 and phase 2 of that development that we've already kind of gone a long way into.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could comment, that was the suggestion made by Planscape, that northern portion, if that part of the property of 238 County Road 49 was used, it perhaps may not have any impact on the proposed plan of subdivision. Now, we still are in a planning consultation process. There's been no decision made on that plan of subdivision. There's been no decision made on the expansion to the settlement area. So those items are still pending. So hence, in our recommendation to council that he be approved for the spreading of sewage at 238, we felt instead of giving a permanent solution through a rezoning, that it be tied to a temporary use. And that way it would be available for 3 years, and then they could request that it be extended for another 3, but it wouldn't be a permanent rezoning solution.
Okay, thank you for that information. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Lamstead. I'm still confused. I need to dig a little deeper into this, if I may. Who
Okay.
issues the permit to allow the disposal of sewage on the property? Is that us or is that the ministry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's the ministry.
So how can the ministry do that if the property itself is not zoned for that purpose? We seem to be at cross purposes here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there are many properties throughout the county. My understanding, and even in the township that I reside in, there are rural lands that aren't zoned for specifically sewage disposal. However, I think historically, rural lands were used for disposal of septic in the past.
I guess I would come back, sorry if I may. through you, Mayor Lamstead.
Go ahead.
I think I would come back and say, I certainly wouldn't recommend that the permit be for disposal be issued because it is in contravention with our zoning. If the ministry wants to do that anyway, obviously that's their prerogative, but I would certainly not want for the municipality to be recommending that because it is contrary to our zoning for that property.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if you look at the second recommendation, possibly we could say that council support the ECA in principle, and it's conditional upon the operator, Dwayne Edwards Peters, applying for and receiving zoning approval to conduct a sewage contracting business at 214 and to permit the disposal of hauled sewage on a temporary basis for the lands at 238 County Road 49. So if that word in principle helps council, that amendment could be made to that recommendation.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong, you look like you had something to say there.
I do, thank you, Mayor Lamstead. Yeah, I would just cut that sentence off after County 214 County 49. We do not need to recommend that the permit be issued. So why would we? Let's just leave that off.
Yeah, the ministry issues the permit regardless pretty much of what we say. They do the testing, they make sure that.
Exactly. And so I don't want to be seen as supporting something
Yeah,
that is contrary to our zoning.
I agree. Okay, any other comments? Adele?
No, I have nothing further to add to that.
Okay, and I think we have our CBO, many other things, would like to speak to that item, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just as a point of clarification, I think the temporary use piece is important because if we create a situation that's permanent, it could very well have impact on that plan of development that's to the south. I've had conversations with both the MECP as well as Mr. Peters. It appears that Mr. Peters may not be in this long term. So what we don't want to do is turn this into a long-term situation.
There you go. Well, any other comments or questions? I thought you had one, Councillor Graber. You were sneaking into one.
The Deputy Mayor Armstrong covered most of it. It was more of a comment as well. I'm interested in the temporary for 3 years, and that can be re-up. So it's temporarily permanent. You know what I mean? So I understand it was just more semantics as far as that, but I do agree with Deputy Mayor Armstrong's comments, and I pause at moving this forward. I support an amended recommendation by our Deputy Mayor if she so chooses, but I don't want to be supporting something that, again, is contrary to our bylaws and our policies.
Okay. Is anyone prepared to make some sort of a motion there? I think Deputy Mayor Armstrong is ready.
I will jump in. Thank you, Mayor Lamstead.
Thank you.
I would make the recommendation that we receive the report, that we support the ECA referenced, conditional upon the operator applying for and receiving zoning approval to conduct a sewage contracting business at 214 County 49, period, or comma, and that council direct staff to provide a copy of this to Ministry of Environmental Conservation and Parks. So the only difference is taking out that one clause.
The clause for 239 County Road. Okay.
The clause that says permit the disposal of.
Haulage on the other piece of property.
Well, in the motion.
Yeah, yeah.
Just striking out and to permit the disposal of hauled sewage.
Okay.
Got that, Jesse?
Do I have a seconder for that?
She's got it. We're good.
Before we can have some conversation, I need a seconder. Okay, Councillor Braybrick for a seconder. Okay, any further conversation about that? Adele, what are your concerns about that motion, or have you any?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only concern I would have, should the ministry approve the disposal of hauled sewage on that piece of property, our zoning still wouldn't permit it. So that's why through the planning report, we tried to tie the two in together. And you could put some wording in a temporary use that it be the temporary use for hauled sewage to be spread on that property up to 3 years, or removal of the application for spreading. So there could be some wording tied in, so it could end sooner than 3 years if the application is withdrawn or there's no need for the application anymore. I mean, we could tie things in. That's the only reason why the two were identified in that recommendation. If we're going to approve the property for the sewage contracting business, we wanted to tie it into the disposal as well on a temporary basis.
Mm-hmm.
Does that explain it any further?
It kind of does to me. I mean, the 214 County Road 49 is south of Ranch Road, correct? And 239 or 238 is north of Ranch Road. So there is a little bit of a separation between the two pieces of property. And on figure 3, I'm going to go back to it again, it shows that it would be okay, most likely, to spread on a temporary basis sewage on the northern third of that 238. Okay, but I think we've got temporary taken right out of our motion completely right now. So that's my only concern, is that there will be nowhere to spread sewage there, and they do it now, or have historically, I should say. Okay. I don't think, I had Councillor Braver.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. This is more of a benign comment, but I'd be interested, it being on County Road 49, I'd be interested in seeing who the clientele of Peter's Septic Service is. Is it majority Kawartha Lakes? Is it, and that's just for my interest. I mean, if we're allowing the spreading of sewage, that's, you know, it might service 10 properties in Trent Lakes, and the rest is outside of Trent Lakes. So, you know, that's just an observation of mine. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it comes from many areas, but go ahead. Eric?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. My conversations with Mr. Peters, he did indicate that they were local to Trent Lakes. A couple of trailer parks that he handles, and some houseboats, I believe. It's not a large scale operation from what my understanding is from Mr. Peters. He never mentioned it was outside of the area. He did mention local.
Okay, that help you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Just a comment, Mary Lam said, I'm sensitive to this because we have other situations where you've allowed things to happen that are not legal according to our bylaws. And because we have, those people are using that against us and are taking legal claims. So I want to be real clear when we put this forward that we're not condoning the operation because it doesn't adhere to our zoning bylaw. And if we request there be a temporary permit, to my mind, that condones the operation. So I just don't want to get caught in that trap ever again. And that's why I'm super sensitive to this particular one.
I agree. We don't want to be in that trap ever.
I rest my case.
Okay.
Thanks.
So what we're going to suggest is we let him apply for a zoning bylaw amendment. Oh, this is not good. It's going to start for 214, but nothing on 238. Okay. My goodness. Okay. Any further comments? We have a motion. We have a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for comments there. Thank you, Adele. Okay, we can move on now to 10.5 of our agenda, which is finance, and 10.5.1. Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. So before you is a report on the 2026 OPP billing statement, which was recently provided to the municipality. So the estimated OPP billing in 2026 is $1,874,340, which is an increase of $185,745 over 2025. So as promised by the Ministry of the Solicitor General earlier this year, increases were capped at 11%. And had this cap not been in place, according to the summaries which I have provided to you, Trent Lakes would have seen an increase of $456,073 or 27%. You will see that the property count for Trent Lakes is 7,234 properties under this billing, which is up 38 from 2025. As in previous years, the billing is broken down with 51% being for base services, which is determined by the number of properties in the municipality and the standard province-wide average cost per property, with the remaining 48.1% for calls for service, which is directly related to calls requiring the attendance of an officer in Trent Lakes using a 4-year average. So the cost of policing obviously still continue to have a significant impact on the annual budget, although it is recognized that the impact would have been worse had the cap not been in place. So therefore, the recommendation is just to receive the report for information and to let you know as well that the 11% increase has already been included in the 2026 draft budget, which was brought to you in November. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Donna regarding this item? Go ahead, Councilor Bearden.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks very much, Donna. Just a quick question in regards to your background. You said it was 11% was capped in the amount billed in 2025, and you're saying it's carried over to 2026. Do you have any information on it's temporarily capped? Like, is there going to come a time maybe in 2027 where they say, okay, the cap's no longer relevant and we're going to charge you the extra 16%, bringing it up to the 27%?
So thank you, and through you. That I'm not entirely sure of. I think the promise is to cap the amount again next year, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know whether that's officially been released at this stage.
Go ahead,
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Is there any way to be proactive, that the municipality can be proactive about the request as opposed to waiting to get the bad news and then all of a sudden we're in reactive mode? Can we be proactive and saying, okay, you've capped it, but don't give us any surprises, and you've given us a break in 2025 and 2026, but don't 2027 to 2029, don't recoup that money that you've supposedly saved. So is there any proactive action that we can take?
Right. So through you, I know council has presented delegations at different conferences along the way. It's definitely something that's, we're not the only municipality struggling with, and there's been lots of, I would say, pushback from municipalities, because last year the increase was going to be so substantial it was an issue, and I think that was identified and further researched by the province. But I think other than pushing perhaps through MPP Dave Smith, through our mayor, through any delegations you can provide, I think that the word is out there. Everybody's concerned it's a huge hit to municipalities, but yeah, the conversation continues for sure.
Thank you.
And rest assured, this conversation happens at almost every MPP meeting we have. 11% is a huge increase for a small municipality like Trent Lakes. I mean, and it could have been 480,000, not 180,000. So those are terrifyingly large numbers.
Just a comment on heels of your comments, Mayor. The Ontario Association of Police Services Board's Board of Directors, which I'm a part of, that's on our radar as well. And it's a constant conversation and then communication with the OAPSB and the ministry. So we are alive and aware, and the OAPSB, they interact with the Ontario Association Chiefs of Police and the PAO, which is the Police Association organization. And so it is on the radar, and we're going to try to keep it on idle as opposed to just forgetting about it. And so it's something we can do as well.
Well, I think if we are the squeaky wheel, things might be helpful. You never know. We managed to get it reduced last year and got some financial assistance so that, and I thought there was going to be more coming. There was some rumblings that Minister Kresner was actually looking for more funding, but I guess he didn't find it. So unfortunately, at this point anyway. Okay. Do we have a motion yet? Okay. Anyone prepared to make a motion or any more questions? Actually, we better. I'm seeing none. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Motion to receive.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about the OPPP billing statement item? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. We can move on to item 10.6 of our agenda, which is administration, and 10.6.1 is Chastity Robertson, our deputy treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lambshead, before you is a draft of a new succession planning policy that has been reviewed by the department heads. The purpose of this policy is to prepare for the municipality's future needs while developing our current employees' knowledge and skills for key positions. I am recommending that council receive the report and approve the attached policy, and I'm also here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Chastity. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding this item? I'm seeing no hands. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? I don't see anybody really jump into that beat. Okay, Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Make a motion to receive the report and that the succession planning policy attached as Appendix 1 be approved.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation about the item? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Just wanted to acknowledge and thank Chastity for bringing this report forward.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Chastity. Now we can move on to item 10.6.2 of our agenda, which is Donna Taggart, our CIO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. So before you is a report on recruitment options for the Chief Administrative Officer and the Director of Finance Treasury positions. So staff have reviewed options for these hirings, which included quotes from 2 outside recruitment firms and HR services offered through the County of Peterborough. All of the options reviewed focused on recruitment approaches, timelines, work planning, candidate screening and assessments, and placement guarantees, as well as search fees. You will see that all recruitment options include an estimated timeline of approximately 8 to 12 weeks for each of these hirings. It is staff's recommendation that council support using HR services through the County of Peterborough, and that the recruitment for a CAO begin in early 2026 and the Director of Finance Treasurer in the summer of 2026. I can confirm in follow-up to conversations with the county after this report was prepared that staff, the Chief Administrative Officer at the county and the Director of Corporate Services would be willing to come and attend a kickoff meeting with council in order to gain some insight into the ideal candidate that you're looking for. So therefore, staff are recommending that council receive the report and further that council support using County of Peterborough Human Resource Services to assist in the recruitment of a chief administrative officer to begin early 2026 and director of finance treasurer in the summer of 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Anyone have any comments or questions for Donna? This is something we kind of agreed upon. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Donna. Fully support having county CAO and chief operating officer look after this for us for three reasons. One, they fully understand the municipal environment. They understand, they know you, and they know our operation. Secondly, their own track record of hiring and retaining managerial positions is very high. So they've been very successful in their own operation. And the third is for a cost of $30,000 to $50,000 for an outside firm. It's just a sticker shock. And I'm not at all convinced that we would get any better service from them than we would from the county. So those would be my reasons for supporting it.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Any other comments? I could just say ditto to that. It'd be a lot easier for me. And I think they'll do a great job at trying to find the best person that fits our municipality because they already know our municipality. And I think that's important. You can farm this out to anyone you want. If they don't know our rural idiosyncrasies, they're never going to get the right person. So I think it's important that we get the right people in the right positions. I think this is a great idea. That was my rant. Did someone else have a question? No, I see no more questions. Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through your mayor, and to Donna. So in your report, you mentioned if the county's unsuccessful, then the municipality could pursue a third party.
Yes.
And you mentioned the county amount was in and around $30,000. So let's say the county spends time and let's say choose into 20,000 of the 30,000, and they don't find anything, and then we go to a third party. Would that leave only 10,000 of that 30,000 to utilize that? And then obviously you've mentioned 27,000 to 54,000 for an outside or third party.
Right.
So could we potentially be, incurring more money?
Right. So thank you, and through you. So the county actually aren't charging anything for their services. The only fees through the county would be advertising. We would obviously pay for that. There is a fee of $150 to $200 for any recruits that are suggested do some additional testing. So there is $30,000 already in the draft budget for the recruitment for this. So we would anticipate if it's successful through the county, we wouldn't need those funds, but we did include some just in case. And we're understanding and aware that we need to pivot if it's not working through the county, but we believe it is the right route to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
Make a motion that we receive the report from the CAO and that council supports using the County of Peterborough Human Resources Services.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you, Donna Taggart. We can move on now to item 10.7 of our agenda, which is corporate services. 10.7.1. Bianca Dagisevic, our deputy clerk, would you like to speak to that item? Easy for me to say. Some days.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lambshead. This report is bringing back the record of the digitization policy. At the November 4th council meeting, council deferred the adoption to allow more time for council's review. Staff had received comments from council on behalf of a ratepayer, and these comments were reviewed and considered for inclusion in this draft policy. A few minor changes were made to the policy to improve the clarity of the overall policy. The new draft policy is attached with the red line changes, attaches Appendix A, and staff are recommending that council adopt the amended record digitization policy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bianca. Anyone have any comments or questions about this item? I'm seeing none. Is there seconds pass at this one? Anyone prepared to make a motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
I will make the motion that we receive the report and that the record digitization policy be approved.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation regarding the item? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to 10.7.2 of our agenda. Bianca Dragiswick, our Deputy Clerk, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, and through you, before council are the expenses received for the month of November and the remainder of October for council's approval and authorization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Anyone care to have a comment or be prepared to make a motion? Councillor Braver, go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Seeing Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, now we can move on now. Thank you very much, Bianca. We can move on to item 10.7.3 of our agenda. And Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services Clerk, could you please speak to this item?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamshead, at the June 3rd council meeting, council declared a portion of the land leading to Salmon Lake as surplus to the needs of the municipality, being the minimum reasonable amount to accommodate the applicant's needs, and directed staff to report back to council on the division of land. Since the June 3rd meeting, the applicants have had a survey prepared of the original shore road allowance that was attached to the report, and staff attended the site to view the proposal. The proposal is to purchase the land indicated as Part 1, and this area would be large enough for the applicants to park their car and trailer for trips to the island, as well as to install a dock to keep their boat during the cottage season. In order to minimize the environmental impact on the land, they are proposing to only remove one tree from the area. During the site visit, staff recommended the installation of a 15-inch culvert under the proposed parking area to convey the flow of the water that was seen on site. As mentioned earlier in the delegation, there's also correspondence on the agenda related to this file from neighboring property owners. Overall, staff are supportive of the proposal and believe it meets council's direction of the minimum reasonable amount to accommodate the applicant's needs. And staff are recommending that council receive the report and approve the division of land as outlined. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. Anyone have any comments or questions regarding this item? Councillor Braver, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. It's just a comment. I just wanted to thank all the parties involved in this item, including the coolers, for working together to come up with a solution that's amenable to both sides, and I support staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. I have read the letter from the two neighbors, and I am sympathetic to their concern. I mean, it's kind of like their backyard, and they don't want to see a building go up right on the shoreline, et cetera. I would say to that I think the restrictions we have around building for a piece of property that's small would ensure that any proposal to build would have to get approved by council. So in the event that the coolers should ever attempt to or want to build on that there would be sufficient notice to the public and an opportunity to oppose it at that point. So I think their concerns can be dealt with the existing processes that we have. And so with that, I would be supportive of it as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I concur. I mean, a 30-foot wide swath of property you're not going to build much on, or we have so many regulations and rules that you can't, and distances back from water and roads, and you might be able to put one pin in the middle of that, and that would be all you could build. So I don't think that's a big concern. And again, like you said, I will reiterate, we have some processes and plans in effect that will control that build. So it would have to come back to council for anything. Okay. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to support the staff's recommendation on this file.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Grayberg for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. We can move on now to item 11 of our agenda, which is notice of motion. Item 11.1, Councillor Franzen, would you like to speak to this notice of motion? Please.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's a rather lengthy notice of motion. I'm sure that council has read the notice of motion. I would support any amendments that would make this motion better. So I'll leave it up to council, the rest of council to comment on it. I'll move the notice or I'll move the motion.
Okay. Okay, for conversation purposes, will anyone second the motion? Councillor Brabrick for a seconder. Okay, now, does anyone like to have a conversation? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks very much. And Councillor Franzen and I spoke about this earlier. It's just a very small recommended change on the third paragraph where it says, and whereas municipalities have governed their respective conservation authorities, I think it would be better if we just said, and municipalities have worked with their conservation authorities. We do not technically govern them.
Okay.
Again, a net, but you never know how people will read this.
Is that the only one?
That's the only one.
Do we have any, is that okay with the mover?
Fine.
Is that okay with the seconder? Slight change. I thought you were going to shake your head no for sure. Okay, so changed. Okay, any other conversation? Councillor Brabrick, go ahead.
Yeah, just reviewing Councillor Franzen's and doing a bit of research on it. The potential benefits of consolidating the conservation authorities from 36 to 7, streamline governance and oversight, potentially faster permitting and development approvals. And that's where I'll stop with that. But I do have concerns generally about how much the provinces and our federal government are pulling powers from the municipalities. It is a concern to me, and it's nice that they can say that here's the potential benefits. I don't know how much trust I have in that, and I see the drawbacks being loss of local representation. Smaller municipalities, few of their voices will be diluted with large regional bodies. Potentially reduced responsiveness, and basically transitional challenges. I just think it's better that we keep it status quo, so that we ensure that our municipality and the smaller municipalities aren't lost between the gaps. So I do support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brabrick.
With the amendment.
Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
Yeah, but I do have some concerns with the amalgamations. First of all, the province hasn't offered any monies to help with the amalgamation to build the critical infrastructure that would be needed in the amalgamation. I also have concerns about governance. When you're looking at 48 municipalities in the area that the eastern zone that we're going to be in, how do you possibly have 48 municipalities represented? And when the municipalities go from a population of 200,000 or 300,000 people to less than 20,000, how do you get proper representation? And I also have concerns about conservation lands. People have donated land or sold land very inexpensively because they assumed that they would be handled by a local conservation authority for the foreseeable future. Nothing is forever, but those are the concerns I have, and that's why I put this motion forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Franzen. Any other conversation?
I'd like to request a recorded vote.
Okay, absolutely. That takes that out of my hands.
Just a question to Councillor Franzen.
Yeah.
In your motion, the second paragraph, the second whereas, where are you pulling these numbers from? The local municipalities currently provide between 25% and 50% of total conservation authority funding, while the province of Ontario provides approximately 3%.
I got these numbers from our representative, or the CAO from the Kawartha Conservation Authority.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I must reiterate that I think that we know our municipality best when it comes to this. I think that the conservation authorities have been doing a very good job at keeping things going along and working well with planning and builders and stuff. I think that this has been working well, so I don't understand why we have to amalgamate into one massive conservation authority that will, what did we say earlier, 7,000 people are going to get lost in the mix, a lot of it, I'm sure. Thank you for bringing this forward. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? Oh, sorry, I can't. You kicked me out again. Go ahead, Clark.
Councillor Franzen, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mayor Lamshead?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councillor Braybrook?
Yes.
Councillor Cadigan?
Yes.
That motion is carried.
I wanted to say that.
You can say it now.
That motion is carried. Okay. Now, we have another little, I'm going to add a little thing on there. I want to, next meeting, I want to have a notice of motion in. I'm going to put a notice of motion in about, I drove by Udenang Park today, and there's 3 feet of snow in a snowbank, and there's kids trying to go in there and walk around the park. I think we have to explore some options to get that plowed on a regular basis. So that will be part of my motion for next meeting. So just so everyone's aware. There's a couple other little items and areas that we're driving right by with a truck. It's not going to change a route. We should, or several trucks. Just one of my rants for today. Okay, we can move on now to item 12 of the agenda, which is correspondence for information. We have 4 or 5 on there. Anyone like to speak to any one of them in particular? Please go ahead. Councilor Bear, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to receive all. Actually, so 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4.
Yep.
Is that 4? Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks. I just saw the 5th there and I went, oh, I was going to say all of them. So motion to receive 12.1 through 12.4.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. And we can move on to 12.5 of our agenda. Would you like to speak to that item or?
No, I believe
Okay.
we can receive that as well. It's
Okay.
It's a letter, so.
Yeah.
We've dealt with that.
So you want to include that in your original motion?
Can we do that? Sure. Yes, so.
And is that
receive
okay
all.
with the seconder? To include that? Okay, that's okay. So now I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on to item 13 of the agenda, which is correspondence for action. Item 13.1 is Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board. And I do believe, Councillor Braybrook, you would like to speak to this item.
I believe it was our CAO.
Sure. Thank you. And through you.
That's
So yes, before you, and my apologies, I should have probably brought this to the last meeting. I thought we could approve this with the Trent Lakes budget, but they did want a separate resolution, I found out after. So the request is to approve the funding in the amount of $5,865.86 for the work of the detachment board. I can confirm that that's down from the 2025 budget of $15,000, so there's been quite a reduction. I have already included that in the updated budget for 2026. So yes, it's just if certainly Councillor Braybrook wants to speak to any specifics of the budget items in there, but it's more for council just to formally request the funding for 2026 in that amount.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Councillor Braybrook, go ahead.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Yeah, it was just more of a comment just to highlight that there was a 16% decrease from the 2025 budget. And also there's an additional approximately 10% return for unused funds. So that was the hard work of our Peterborough County Detachment Board, OPP Detachment Board. So a little plug, sorry. Thank you.
I think that sounded like a pat on the back for you and Bianca. And thank you for both being on there and helping.
Our whole board. The whole board, yeah.
Very good. Okay. Do we have a motion? Lost me. Okay, we definitely need a motion for that, though.
I'll make a motion to receive that letter and to approve that amount for our 2026 budget.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I've seen none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We can move on to item 13.2 of the agenda, which is Town of Port Perry, or Perry Sound, sorry. It was just in Port Perry, so it was stuck in my head. Anyone like to speak to this item? Or?
Motion to receive.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We can move on to item 13.3 of our agenda, which is Association of the Municipalities of Ontario. Would anyone like to speak to that item? Or is prepared to make a motion? Councillor Graber, go ahead.
I'd like to speak to it through you, Mayor. Just prepared some notes on this. Just an overview for council. I'm sure council's already read this item. It's regarding the Ontario Municipal Employee Retirement Savings, OMERS, governance changes, and Bill 68. It's the provincial government has proposed to change the governance structure of the OMERS board. And I just have a few comments. Currently, the OMERS board, there's two boards that govern OMERS. There's a sponsors corporation as well as an administration corporation, and they both operate independently. And in short, the Bill 68 is proposing to dissolve the sponsors corporation and turn that into a sponsors council. Which reduces their powers, so to speak, to just an advisory, and it switches the majority of the governance to the administration corporation. And I just have some points here to make. Sorry, excuse me.
It's okay.
So the Sponsors Corporation is one of two boards, as I mentioned, that currently govern the pension plan. Its role is primarily strategic and oversight focused. It sets plan, design, and contribution rates. It decides how the pension plan is structured and what members and employers contribute. It appoints members to the Administration Corporation, and it selects who sits on the board that run the day-to-day operations. It represents plan sponsors. It acts as the voice of employers, unions that participate in OMERS, ensuring their interests are reflected in governance. The structure was designed to balance independence and accountability. It handles policy and design, while the Administration Corporation manages investments and benefits under fiduciary principles. The proposed change under Bill 68 would dissolve the sponsor corporation and replace it with a sponsors council, as I mentioned, shifting powers and giving the administration corporation more autonomy and veto authority. It would give them basically a 2/3 veto authority over the sponsors council. The Administration Corporation is the operational board within OMERS that manages the pension plan's day-to-day functions. Its responsibilities include running the plan, which it oversees the administration, investment of assets, and payment of benefits to members. It also has fiduciary governance. It operates under strict fiduciary principles, meaning its decisions must prioritize the best interests of plan members, and they're responsible for implementing policy. While the Sponsors Corporation sets plan design and contribution rates, the Administration Corporation executes those policies and ensures compliance. The Administration Corporation is the management and investment arm of OMERS, whereas the Sponsorship Corporation is the policy and oversight arm. Again, under the proposed Bill 68 changes, the administration corporation would gain more autonomy and even a 2/3 veto power on certain matters, making its role more influential in governance. Under Bill 68, the administration corporation becomes the dominant governance body, where right now currently it's shared and the dominance sits with the sponsorship corporation currently. If the priority is stable arm's length stewardship with sponsor oversight, then keeping the current dual board governance is a safer path. For most municipal councils focused on budget stability and predictable pension governance, it's better to keep the current OMERS governance than to adopt the council model without the safeguards above. Basically, if this goes through, it basically takes the power away from the people, so to speak. And it just concerns me. I follow politics a lot, and I've listened to all our elected officials, including our federal government and provincial government. And months and months ago, just after our prime minister was elected, I heard one of his speeches where he says he would like to tap into all the municipal pension plans, which raised a red flag with me. And this just, the provincial government, I don't know whether it's in lockstep, and it seems to be taking more power away from the municipal employees on how they run the OMERS pension plan. So there is a suggested motion from AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, in the item today, and I would like to support that motion and put a motion forward that's recommendation. It's sort of a boilerplate motion, and it is in our item. So I would like to propose that motion that's in this item, with the amendment where it needs the municipal name to put in the municipality of Trent Lakes. And I believe everybody at council's had an opportunity to review that motion. So I'd like to put that motion forward.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councilor Cadigan, for a seconder. Any further conversation? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Lamson. I have to confess, this is not an item that I paid a lot of attention to, but first, I very much appreciate Councilor Braybook walking us through that. Secondly, I'm encouraged, if that's the right word, by the fact that AMO has proposed this motion. They do outstanding research and background on these kinds of things, and their argument is equally compelling. So I certainly support the idea of the balanced management and governance of this fund. Thousands and thousands of people rely on it, and it needs to be carefully and appropriately managed. So I certainly support this.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just another comment to put it in perspective. The OMERS plan manages their portfolio is approximately $138 billion. And I know that both the federal government and the provincial government want to get their hands on that, and we don't want them to. So that's why we want to maintain the governance structure so that we have a say in controlling it.
Very true. You never know what happens down the road. If you let the control of them funds get away on you, then things can change drastically. Everybody's paid into them for their entire career, and make sure that they're there when they need them, right?
Yeah, just one thing I'll add, Mayor, and this will be the last point before we move on.
You've said this before.
I know I have. I know I have. Just as far as comments made by our elected leaders in the federal and provincial government, they've already stated that the Quebec pension plan and the Canadian pension plan, they've listed those. They've switched, I guess, in an accounting world, that's I guess it's classified as a liability, but they've switched it to an asset in their budget. So that allows them to dip into that. So it's, is that correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, and through you. And I did attend a session, a couple of staff members did on this, and they're saying this is the biggest change to the pension plan suggested since 2006, when the province before that used to have some control over the plan and appointed the two corporations so they could step aside and let those corporations run the plan. But I think another, and you've summarized it very, very well, but the concern is also that the change would provide significant authority to the minister directly, and who that person could prescribe rules and regulations, risking interference directly in the plan design and potentially new costs to specifically employers. They're saying employees and employers, but it's definitely AMO, and Hicks Morley actually was at that session as well. And there's a really big concern over this proposal for sure, but the minister would have direct authority as well to make changes where that isn't the case at the moment.
Okay.
And I know
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead. I was ready.
Apologize to everybody.
All good.
As well as AMO, the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards, which is going to be changed to Police Governance Ontario, so PGO. It's a little easier, but they're all over this as well, and they're supporting AMO, and their line of communication is with all the law enforcement. Because all our emergency services are owners, although it's only like a 10% of the 100% of owners, but it's 90% of the voice. So we're trying to attack it at many levels. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further comments? We have a mover and a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councilor Braber. My apologies for my little dry throat and cough. We can move on to item 14 of our agenda, which is bylaws. Item 14.1 is zoning bylaw amendment, file 2410, Rivard. Would anyone like to make a motion so we can speak to the item? I'm out of water. I'm out of medication. No, it's no medication. Okay, seeing no hands. You're at bylaw 4. Go ahead, Councilor Braber.
I'll make a motion to approve 14.1, 14.2, and 14.3, and I don't know whether we need to speak with 14.4. Or if we, or can we approve all four?
Do we have the recommendation there? My apologies. I don't have. Yes, we can do them all in one motion, I think. Do we not? Clerk? Okay. So we have a motion to do all 4?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation about any of the 4 items? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, thank you. And we can move on to item 15 of our agenda, which is an announcement. Does anyone have an announcement to make? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. On January 10th, which is a Saturday, we will be having the second annual, it's now becoming a tradition, library levy.
Nice.
And so from 1 to 3 at the Buckhorn branch, yes, there'll be refreshments, the board will be there, the staff will be there, the people that staff the goodbye room will be there, and we're welcoming all members of the public to come, greet, and partake.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that announcement. Any further announcements? Councillor Cadigan, go ahead.
This coming Saturday, December 20th, Cavendish Community Center is having a potluck dinner. If you would like to attend, bring your favorite festive dish and show up.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other? Go ahead, Councillor Braber.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. It's just a comment. Just wanted to wish our council, our staff, and our constituents Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. This being our last council meeting before Christmas. So
I think we should sing that. Merry.
You lead the way.
Yeah, no, Thank you very much. Yeah, I think all of us appreciate all our staff and all of our residents of Trent Lakes and each other. I mean, we do get along well. We make decisions, we follow forward, we support each other when you need to, but we all have our own opinion. And I think that's very important that you have a council that's functioning and we work well together. Any other announcements? I just wanted to mention that this morning we had the groundbreaking ceremony of the new fire hall and public works building in the little village of Buckhorn. It's another big adventure that we're embarking on. I think it's exciting that it's starting to move forward. So thank you very much for Evan and Steve for getting this going and everyone that was participating. So, Donna, we greatly appreciate that. Okay. Any other announcements? I'm seeing none. We can move on to item 16 of our agenda, which is our closed meeting. I would entertain a motion to go into closed. Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Councillor Franzen for a seconder, and we are going into closed under the authority of the Ontario Municipal Act, Section 239(2), to discuss B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, municipal employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, municipal employees. Those are the reasons we are going into close, and I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are entering close. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we can go to 16.2 of our agenda, which is rise from closed. Entertain a motion to rise from closed and go into our regular council meeting. Councillor Franzen for a mover. Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are back into our regular council meeting. We can move on to item 17 of our agenda, which is business arising from our closed meeting. Item 17.1 is the adoption of the minutes from December 2nd, 2025 closed. Would someone be prepared to make that a motion? Councillor Brayberg for a mover. Councillor Franzen for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Those minutes are adopted. We can move on to item 18 of our agenda, which is the adoption of the confirming bylaw. Item 18.1 is the confirming bylaw. I see Councillor Cadigan for a mover to adopt. I see Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? The motion to adopt the confirming bylaw passes. We can move on now to item 19 of our agenda, which is adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Councillor Franzen, Councillor Brayberg for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, council. Thank you very much, staff. And thank you everyone who attended virtually and physically in our gallery.